Hey friends, welcome to Table Scraps. I'm your host, Emily. On this podcast, you will hear real and honest talk about faith and life. We will be going through Bible lessons and having chats with awesome guests. So whether you are young, old, or anywhere in between, please pull up a chair and join me at the table for the broken and the beautiful. I have some guests with me today for a fun episode on friendship. We are going to be chatting about what friendship is, the importance of friends, and what God says about friendship. I'll start with introductions of everyone at the table today and how I know them. So I have Ashley Martin, and she is my best friend, and I met her at church. Next, we have Amy Kapolka, and she is Ashley's mother-in-law. I know her from church as well. Then we have Pam Krenzer, and I know her from Ashley. She works with her husband. And then we have Renee Kapolka, who is Amy's daughter, Ashley's sister-in-law. I am so excited to have you all joining me today. So thank you so much. And let's get into it. Let's start with the first question. What does the Bible say about friendship? This is what I found. The first one's not going to be scripture, so this is just my thought. True friends build you up and want to see you succeed. These friends will be the ones to support you, encourage you in every season of life. It takes intentionality, dedication, and commitment to making these types of friendships last or run smoothly. So the first thing that I found in the Bible, it says Proverbs 12:26. The godly give good advice to their friends. The wicked lead them astray. Does anybody have anything?
I would say something like, isn't it, I don't know the scripture, but the iron sharpens iron too. That goes along with what you said.
Mm-hmm. And I have that one written down too. Then the next one is godly friends are loyal. That's Proverbs 17:17. It says, a friend is always loyal and a brother is born to help in time of need. Another one is Proverbs 18:24, and that one says, there are friends who destroy each other, but a real friend sticks closer than a brother.
What do you think Ashley fits most in that category of like?
As a friend to me?
As a best friend to you,
Oh, she's loyal, she's uplifting, she's encouraging. She pays attention to the little things. She takes time to know people, not just me, but in general for other people as well. Like she just takes the time to get to know them. I think that's really important when you're looking for people to be friends with.
You have to be invested. You have to do your time too.
Well, that's like earlier whenever I stopped and I seen those fancy bedazzled hats and I got Amy a hat. And then they had the other two, and I was like, no, Em won't want either of those. And then whenever I got in the car, and you're like, well, I probably would have worn a black one, and I felt so bad. But I think that, like, being a good friend, it's good to notice those moments because it's like, okay, next time I'm going to get her, something that I think that she would really like. Instead of just contemplating back and forth, like, no, what if she doesn't? It's like, just take that initiative to just do it.
I think it's important, too, that you don't just buy the thing that you think somebody will like. It's also the thought that goes behind it. It's not necessarily that you bought somebody something. It's more so you took the time to think about them in that moment.
Yeah, like the motivation of your heart. Like, what was your motive for that? Like, just because they were on your heart that, oh, let me get them something nice,
Well, and then also, too, it helps you to make sure that you listen to those little details, too, because even though it's something as simple as a hat, it's like, oh, okay, next time she would like one of those, as opposed to before I didn't realize that she would like one. But taking like that mental note, just knowing that she will get one next time.
And that's also going to be a progression of your friendship too, because even though we've been friends for 4 years, you don't know every little detail about me. So you're still learning things. And by you saying, hey, I was going to get you that, but I didn't really think that you would wear it. And then I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I probably would have. So now you know. Like, hey, that's something that she does like that I didn't know before. So it's just the little things. And it's like every relationship, as the friendship continues over the years and over time, you learn more things about each other. I don't think you're ever going to get to a time where you know every little thing about somebody. For one, people change change. And that's how your relationship with Jesus is too. You're never going to know everything about him, and he knows everything about you, but we don't know everything about him. And so it's progressing every day, every year, just on and on and on. It's something that's always going to be changing.
I think it's really cool too how in friendship, how you all like learn more about each other and how you grow together. Something as simple as wearing pink, where
Right.
M's favorite color is pink, but normally I wouldn't necessarily wear pink. But it's funny, since she's my best friend, now pink catches my eye. It's just those little things that you take notice to.
I'm the same way with green, because that's your favorite color. I notice that I gravitate towards green things, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? I don't even like green at all. I don't like green, but because she likes green. And I think we've talked about this before, where you start to take on the other person's just little things about them. I may not enjoy thrift shopping the way that you do, but because you like it, I'll do it. And I think you do that with your spouses too. You may not like every little thing that they do, but you do it because you know they enjoy it, and it brings them joy for you to go along. And then I think about Amy when I see things that are bright and bold and stand out. I'm like, oh, Amy would love that, because Amy likes big earrings that stand out, statement pieces. She has a phone purse that you can actually plug it in and use it. And that's so cool. So Renee likes toys, not children's toys, but she likes Legos and diamond art and stuff. So little things will catch my eye for her. And I'm like, oh, Renee would like that. Pam, I don't know you well enough. I'm sure over time we'll get to know each other like that. So let's move on to the next one, which is friendship should encourage spiritual and personal growth. Proverbs 27:17 is the scripture that you quoted, Pam. It says, as iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend. Anybody want to add anything about that?
Well, I think for with friendships too, that you can hold each other accountable as you grow in the Lord. Like, I could know something that Renee doesn't know, or Renee could know something that I don't know, and you can grow that way as well too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Being supportive and being a good listener to your friend.
Yeah.
I would say too, like with this girls trip, with you offering to do a podcast episode, we could have sat around and acted silly and all of that, but it was really cool to know that we were going to come together and talk about friendship, talk about the Lord, and that is iron sharpening iron.
Mm-hmm.
So it's beautiful to have those moments too.
Yeah, there's always time for both. Like, I think that's another thing about being a believer and following Jesus, because people don't think of it like that. They don't think that you can fit both. Like, you can't fit silly in with being a Christian. It's like you got to be straight-laced and you have to be serious all the time. But last night we were anything but serious, and we had a great time, and it was innocent and it was pure and it was just fun. You know, it was just us sitting around being girls, being together and enjoying each other. And then tonight it's something completely different where, you know, we're talking about Bible and we're talking about friendships, like you said, and it's nice to have both of those and to know that there can be both. You don't have to leave the funny side behind. Like, you can still incorporate that.
Yeah.
You don't have to be so serious all the time. Don't make it so serious.
Yeah, I would agree.
Another one is godly friends are faithful. Proverbs 18:24 says, there are friends who destroy each other, but a real friend sticks closer than a brother. I think that's so true, because there's a lot of times where family is not as close as your friendships.
Yeah.
You would think it would be the opposite.
Well, and it's different too. You have like non-believers in your family that to have a harder relationship with them because for whatever reason, like, oh, they think you're self-righteous and, you know, you're better than them. No, they just don't understand. So it's totally different.
I would say that, like, as you grow up with your family, they think that they know you, but they really don't get to know you like that. So with Em and myself growing together to learn each other the way that we are, there's like a willingness to get to know each other, as opposed to like your family where just they assume that they know you, but really, do they?
Right.
I've caught myself even being defending over Em's name, where, you know, if somebody says something, then it's like, whoa, I got her back, you know, because she's closer to me than a sister. I'll change that from brother to sister.
Let's move on to the next one, which is friendship should be honest and hold each other accountable. Proverbs 27 verse 6 says, wounds from a sincere friend are better than many kisses from an enemy. Good friends can offer honest feedback even though it may be difficult to receive or you may not like it. I think that's definitely true. I think when you have a friendship that you know each other so well that you know they have nothing but good intent, or they have your heart in mind and they want the best for you, it's easier to get over the hurt of what they say, maybe in a corrective moment or giving you their opinion or whatever it is, something that hurts your feelings. It's easier to get over that because you know it's coming from a good place.
Yeah. I had a best friend, she's passed on now. We had a relationship like that. Like, we were so close, we were sisters, and there was things that other people could say to me that hurt me, and I was like, whoa. But then she could say it and be like, oh, okay, because it was the way she said it and how, I knew her motives were pure and for my best interest. Not that the other person's wasn't, but like you said, it came from a different place.
Yeah, it's just different.
It is. I'm not going to respond to something like that when I think you're attacking instead of trying to nurture or guide.
Right.
Yeah. That makes a big difference.
I would say that there's definitely like a different place. Whenever you are friends with somebody, it's like you give them access to a special part of your life where you're more willing to listen and to compromise. Not compromise with the word of God, but like compromise with where I like to go thrifting and Em doesn't. And she's okay with waiting in the car and I go inside. It's a compromise.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah. And even though like I could say that I would sit in the car, but I have never done that. And I don't think I could. Like, I can say it, like, don't be upset if I just sit in the car while you go in, but we're going to pull up and then I'm going to go.
Well, and also too, it's great that we can provide each other with that correction like you were talking about, because the Lord's really been speaking to my heart about not being so easily offended. And earlier you said it, and that was like the first time I've heard you use that in like the perfect situation. Like, we've talked about it before.
Yeah.
But to actually hear you say it towards me as like, hey, a correction, don't be so easily offended. And it kind of like hurt a little bit. And I was like, don't be so easily offended by her saying, don't be so easily offended.
Like that little prick.
Yeah, it was like, ooh.
And it was funny because I even went over it in my head before I said it. I'm like, okay, well, if you say it that way, she's not going to take it very well. So you got to say it this way. You got to be lighthearted about it when you're saying things in a corrective aspect sometimes, because you don't want to come off mean, hateful, unloving. You don't want to intentionally upset someone. That's not your goal as a friend. Okay, how about number 3? How can you be a good godly friend?
You can be an encourager.
I would say you could definitely pray for each other.
That's important.
A pure heart. Because I can pray for you just to get it out of the way.
Like a checkbox.
Exactly. Or I can intentionally pray for you. And the Lord's really done this thing in my heart where instead of just coming and praying about people, it's basically blessing them, just praying a blessing over different parts of their life. And so it's really cool. I've actually seen that working in my own life over my family, which is ironic. Like my Aunt Cindy, I was telling my Aunt Cindy, I was reading in Luke, and it was speaking about the woman with the case of the blood disorder. And my family, there's this like disease that runs through the bloodline, and it's called Osler-Weber. I think it's like or something, but it's like you bleed out. It's pretty terrible, but my aunt has dealt with it since she's been a little girl. And as I read over that, I was reminded of my aunt. And so I went ahead and prayed over her that the healing would come upon her too. And then I started to bless her and bless different areas of her life. And she hasn't spoken to me since 2020. And a week later, she texted me and she actually gave me her phone number and wants me to give her a call to talk to her. That's crazy.
That blew my mind when you told me that. I'm like, really? Like, it's been that long that you haven't talked to her, and then you pray for her, and right after that, she reaches out. So that, it just blew my mind.
So it's so crazy. The Lord's really opened up my spiritual eyes to that, where blessing others really does do something spiritually somewhere. And it's just so cool to see it play out. So I was telling Em about how how the Lord was doing that with forgiveness in my life. And then that was the follow-up on my Aunt Cindy, where she had reached out to like wish me a happy birthday, which I looked at the year the last time that she reached out. It was 2020. It's like 5 years later. Like, what in the world? And so even though she wished me happy birthday, it was like 4 days after my birthday. And so I was just like, thank you, how are you doing? So then she waited like a day, and she had messaged me back, and she was like, it would be so great to catch up, here's my phone number, all this good stuff. And so I told her that I would follow up with her. But just by her dropping into my spirit while I was reading the scriptures and then praying over her and blessing her just opened something up. It was amazing.
So let's move on to the next one, which is, how can you be a good godly friend?
Well, in my case, I have a friend. She's a really good friend. And I really strive to love her and support her and listen to her. And I don't always agree with the things that she has to say, but I'm supposed to be a good listener. So that's how I feel about it. And she knows that I love her and care about her.
And she is not saved, correct?
She is not.
That's important too, because even though you have these friendships with people who are not saved, they're not Christians, but yet we are. And so our role is to show the love of Christ no matter what. Doesn't matter if they're Christian or not. We still have to show that to them, because if we don't, how else are they going to see it? So it's important. That's part of our job as Christians.
And also, I feel like if they're unsaved and you're saved, you have to set boundaries between the two of certain things.
That's so good.
Because if you don't, I feel like you'll end up doing something totally wrong.
Yeah, that's good. Do you think the need for godly friendships differ between men and women?
I mean, I would definitely say they're both important for both, but I think that a lot of it probably comes down to your workplace.
Yes.
Because like what you give influence to is going to grow. So I mean, like, of course you spend time with the Lord, and so the scriptures will come alive in your heart and everything, but you think about like the amount of hours that they're there, and then a lot of time there's a lot of like filthy talk there and stuff, and so all of that stuff just gets into your heart, and then sometimes you carry it home with you and you don't even realize it. So I mean, I guess it all depends on what profession you have.
Yeah.
Either way, it's important.
And I think the difference is that women are more open to sharing things with each other, where men are more closed off, like with their feelings and stuff. Not every man, but a lot of men. And I think that goes too with in their field. You know, are they construction workers? You're not going to see construction workers sitting around on the construction site talking about their feelings. Normally, you don't see that. You don't hear it. But then I think maybe there's other jobs where they might do that.
Especially how you're raised, because some people are raised to feelings are just something that you buried. So they take it harder because they were abused or beaten. So they're used to keeping that all in and not sharing it because they're scared, oh, if I let you in, you're going to walk away. Or oh, if I let you in, you're just gonna let me down. So it also can depend how you were raised.
Yeah.
And trusting someone, because the person you thought you knew wasn't, or the person you thought you trusted wasn't. So they're like, well, if I trust you, you're just gonna rip my heart out and just leave me to defend.
Yeah, that's good too. And I think that can go for both men and women.
Yeah.
It probably comes down to how you've been raised too, like what you've learned throughout your life, because there are some guys that are a little more in tune with their feelings, and then there's some women that are not.
Yeah, I think about my boys, and they're all three different. Their personalities are much different. So one of them is very good at sharing his feelings, where the other two not so much. What about your boys, Ashley? Are they different with sharing their feelings, or are they kind of the same?
So my oldest, he will usually hide his emotions until it gets to be too much, or if somebody's actually hurting, then he'll share with you. But he tries to like suppress it all, where the other one, my youngest, he likes to share like his emotions, but he's like coming into his own skin, where I've noticed where he kind of bottles it up a little bit more. Like when they were younger, they were tenderhearted and they would share everything. But now that they're starting to get older, I've noticed that they kind of hold on to some feelings until somebody's actually really hurting, or if they're hurting.
Right.
And it's gotten to like an emotional situation where they'll cry at the drop of a hat type of thing, and then they're willing to open up.
Yeah.
Amy, you want anything? I got 3 kids. My oldest one, he is kind of like me. He keeps a lot of stuff to himself. He's emotional. And then my middle daughter, she will just tell you everything and she doesn't care. And then my youngest daughter, she doesn't know how to show her emotions and how to handle them. So to me, she's okay and he shows them, but to everybody else, she does not.
I would agree with that. I think it's kind of the same with all 3 of mine too. They're more willing to share with me than anybody else. And I think that's because we talk a lot, or even when they were younger, we talked all the time. I was a stay-at-home mom, so they were all I had to talk to. So they kind of just learned that, it's okay to share your feelings with mom. It's fine. What about yours, Pam?
Well, my daughter, she is not scared to, because I've always told my kids growing up, I don't care what it is. I want you to feel safe to come with me, to be able to tell me what's on your heart, whatever's going on. And even though if I can't fix it or help, I will at least be there. You'll have a safe place or whatever. And then my oldest son, he's a little reserved, but he will, if I ask, he'll share some.
Mm-hmm.
Like he doesn't like vomit it all out. So he's a little more reserved than my daughter and my youngest son. My youngest son, he'll just vomit everything. He has special needs, so I kind of give him a little bit of slack because he doesn't have the mind of a 22-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how and where do you find godly friends?
You can find some in church.
3 of you came from church. For me, my opinion is you have to be very guarded at first, and you really have to put your trust in the Lord when you're searching for good, godly friendships.
As a pastor's wife, I am a very guarded person, and I don't let a lot of people into my world because there's always this double standard of, what do you want? What is it that I can do for you? Not meeting needs, because I'm always there to want to meet needs. But it's more of kind of like a self-seeking, do this for me type of thing. Or, getting close enough to me so you can get information about me or my husband or people that are close to me. Like, what is your motive?
Right.
One of the things that I like to say is talk is really cheap and your actions speak louder than your words. And so I don't let a lot of people in. I've tried to have Christian friends from church, and I've been hurt over and over again. So much so that whenever Em was praying for a best friend and I was over here, lost my best friend because she shut me out, then I was just like, you know what? I don't need a best friend. It's fine. And and then it was so funny because Em would not let me push her away as much as I tried. And it's beautiful because the way that her and I's friendship works now is we know that the enemy will try that angle to split us up to where, like, even with our thoughts, taking every thought captive, because the enemy will try to like use those little devices to get us to not be friends. And we are literally like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and message her because we're not gonna let the enemy win. I'm sure you could find them a lot of different places. It could be work or school or church, but I would definitely say if that's something that you're seeking, that you should pray about it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I would say, I'm going to go back to when you said that the enemy will attack you and your thoughts. And a lot of times it happens that we are going through the same exact thing at the same time. And one of us will say like, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. And it's like, if we would have never opened up and shared that with each other, then we would have just been going through that alone, which is exactly where the enemy wants you, is to feel alone and like you're dealing with all of this stuff and no one cares, but you have a friend who you can open up to and you can share these things, and 9 chances out of 10 they may be going through the same thing at the same time. I would say with TikTok and Instagram, for the younger generation like Renee's, it's easier to talk to people about God. It's easier to find people who are having these conversations or sharing the gospel, whether it's from a good place or not, or right or not. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying that it's out there. It's more readily available now than ever before. I mean, you can get on TikTok and you watch video after video after video about people sharing their faith. Again, you need discernment and you need to be praying about that if, you're going to start talking to people online, on social media and stuff. But it's out there. You can find people who you can relate to, even if they're not in your state or in your hometown, whatever it is. But there's people out there that you can talk to.
So when I'm scrolling through TikTok and I see something and I'm like, oh, so I'll click on their profile and scroll on TikTok. And I don't really follow anyone. I follow Pam and my mom and all of them that I know. But I'll just scroll and then I just search through their TikToks to see what their TikToks actually like. And if they have Instagram, sometimes I'll click on that and see, and then it's not, sometimes what their TikTok is way different than what's on their Instagram.
Yes, which we talked about that a lot in youth group.
Yeah, we did.
Because it is out there a lot. You'll see one social media looks like they're Christian. The other one, you're like, whoa, they are definitely sinners. There is no fruit. There's no nothing.
Yeah, they'll post on TikTok something the day before, and then Instagram's the next day, and it's totally different things, and you're like, okay.
Yeah. Anywhere else?
I would say parent. So my mom's my best friend and I tell her everything, and then work, Pam.
Yeah.
I think whenever you're younger, it's a lot easier to find friends at work. Because now that I'm older, I go back to that, what is your angle?
Yeah.
And I've actually seen that play out this week where one of the newer staff members, she noticed that I was kind of struggling. And because she had reached out and I was just like, this job has so many ups and downs and I'm kind of frustrated. But then she took it back to my boss, and then my boss gave me a call to check on me. And now I know that I can't go to you now because what I say to you is not in confidence. You went right to my boss. And so I've learned as I've gotten older that I can't necessarily trust you for face value, but I'll guard my heart, obviously, moving forward. So with being older, it's hard for me to find friends at work.
Yeah.
So that's cool that you have a best friend in Pam.
The godly friends that I have is here at this table, actually. I'm like Ashley. I don't really open up because I don't trust people, and I've been really hurt from people in church. I have my guard up, so I don't really look.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wish I felt differently, but I don't look. I mean, I do have a shop, and I do tell people about the Lord and things like that, but I can't say they're my godly friends.
Right. More of an acquaintance.
Yeah, just you ladies here at this table.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a small group of really close friends that you can get together and you can go shopping, or you can go out to dinner, you can go on a girls' weekend trip. But at the same time, you don't always have to talk 24/7. You just pick up where you left off. And I think that's really important in friendship too. I have a friend who I don't associate with all the time. We only talk maybe once every couple years or whatever it is. But when we talk, it's we pick up we never even stop talking. And it's the exact same, that we don't walk the same life, we don't have the same lifestyle, whatever, but she's still a friend. And I know that we can always talk and it's not going to be weird, but we don't have to talk all the time. To me, if Ashley and I didn't talk every day, that would be weird. You just have those different relationships with people. So I think that's important too, to know each other's expectations of the friendship as well.
I love that you said that, though, because we do talk every day.
Mm-hmm.
And with you and I, it's more of a consistent friendship. And that's something that both of us need. And that's why, we used to text, but now we do a lot of voice chatting.
Yeah.
And it's really taking you out of your comfort zone.
For sure.
But it allows me to release what's going on in my soul as well. Because even last week I was really struggling with things because I have gone through this thing where I don't want to complain and grumble, because I noticed myself in my inner circle complaining it would start with just releasing what was going on in my life, and then I would go from this person to this person because they'd ask the question, how are things going? And it's this is happening and then this happened, and it just in my heart it started to convict me. It was the Lord was convicting my heart, okay, you're not venting, now you're complaining. And so I had to reel it back in. I was trying to just take all of my thoughts, and I thought that I was taking them to the Lord, but what I was doing was suppressing them. And with me talking to Em every day, I started to reel that back into where like I was still talking to her, but I wasn't talking to her about everything.
It was very vague. I would say like it was just very short, straight to the point, no substance to the conversation. And I was like, what in the world is going on? Why are you not talking? And then
You called me out.
called you out. Yeah.
It was great though, because our friendship, she called me out and it was like, all right, I'm going to be real. But what's wonderful too is with our friendship is she's like, I'll just listen. Just let me know. So I messaged her. I was like, okay, just listen. Don't say anything unless the Lord put something on her heart.
Right.
She had liberty to speak on that. And I loved that because I told her that I was internalizing everything. I will lay it all out for you. And then I just went, this happened, and this happened, and this happened, this happened, and just got it all out. And what I realized is the sadness that I had started to deal with that day. It started to get borderline depression, and I didn't like that feeling because it all happened within a day. And whenever those feelings started to creep in, she called me out and it was like, okay, now it's time to let it all out. And so then I just released everything and you listened and then you realized, oh, wow, she's been going through all of this and hasn't said anything.
Yeah.
And I thought that I was taking it to the Lord, but really I was not. I was just being quiet about it.
And I would say too, with that, as a friend, it's hard to pray for someone when you don't know what you're supposed to be praying for. Now we can go to the Lord and we can ask. I don't always get it, like I'm not always hearing God tell me exactly what she's going through this, and this is what you need to pray. No, sometimes we need to open up and we need to let people know these are the things I'm dealing with. And I could tell a difference after she sent me, I don't know, it was probably 20 messages, one right after the other. And I couldn't keep up.
Ran out of time. Oh, we need to record another one.
Yeah. And so I was listening and I would listen all the way through. And then I'd have to listen to it again because something in there would catch my attention. And I'm like, I need to respond to that, but I need to pray about it first. And it was really nice, but I realized that she holds a lot of things in. And we all do. I think we all get to that place where we feel like it's not okay to talk about things because we don't want to grumble and we don't want to complain. And what's the use to talk about it because it's not fixing it anyway. But then we start to internalize things and we start to hang on to them. And then those little problems begin to be large problems.
It was so weird because, like, I was talking to Amy that morning before I had messaged you, and I was like, something is wrong. I feel really sad this morning. Something's off. It was like I felt it in my spirit because normally I'm pretty joyful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't tell people everything, but normally I'm pretty joyful. But I told her, I was like, something is wrong. And then after that, it was like I started to get really sad. It was so weird. But then you had called me out, like, right on time.
Okay, so the next question is, do you think there is a difference between girl talk and gossip?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anybody want to tell us what the difference is?
Girl talk's a casual conversation, I think. You're casual with your friends and you're supportive with your friend and the relationship with your friend. And whatever they tell you, you're to keep to yourself unless she says, it's okay to tell someone else. But I feel like gossip is if you're discussing people's private life with your other friends or whoever, and just, you're spreading negative rumors about them.
Yeah.
So if I'm talking to Ashley and her and I are talking and she says, don't say anything. And then I say, hey, Emily, guess what Ashley told me today? Well, that's gossip.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how I look, the two different.
Uh-huh. And what about, even if it's something that's not negative, it could be something positive that you're telling someone about somebody else. I think that can also still land into gossip.
It probably all depends on what that topic actually is.
Mm-hmm. I think you have to be very careful.
Yeah. I always say, watch whose name comes out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Whenever I train people at work, I always say that. You better watch whose name comes out of your mouth.
Yeah.
That sounds harsh, but it can bite you in your butt.
It can, absolutely. And so quickly, because I've noticed that conversations can start out one way and very quickly turn. and you're like, whoa, how did I get into this conversation about this person or about this topic? And it's hard to backtrack out of that once you're in it. It's hard to get out.
Especially if like you're not seasoned with the Lord, because the Holy Spirit will put you in check.
Yeah.
But if like you're young in the Lord, a lot of times it's hard to navigate through that
Right.
because you're learning as a babe Christian.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes whenever you're in the middle of a conversation, like you'll feel that little check in your spirit, like, oh, stop right there. Or like you'll think of a thought and then you'll have that check like, oh, don't you let that come out of your mouth.
Right. Yeah. And I think too, it can happen without using people's names. You can have conversations with people and what you're talking about is so well known
Oh, yeah.
that you don't have to use a name. People know who you're talking about. That's gossip as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a sin. Gossip is a sin. We all know that, or we should know that. So it's so easy to fall into that trap.
Well, sometimes too, I think that we need to just be bold in our faith and just say, no. I was just 2 weeks ago, I think I was telling you this. I was in a meeting at work, and that's the Lord was putting my heart in check about the complaining, right? And so this will kind of land with gossiping here in a second. But I was in this meeting and they started to complain about work, and it is borderline gossip because there's management involved. And I said, I'm not going to complain about that today. And the person said, oh, I'm not complaining. Like, you was.
Yeah. And just by you saying that you weren't going to be involved in that, they were convicted. And I don't even know if they're a believer or not, or, whatever. Like, you don't have to be.
Yeah. Well, it was really cool because by being bold in that, I got to do it again the same day with another person where I was like, I'm not going to complain about that. And they were like, oh, I'm not complaining either. But like I said, there were names attached to the complaining. So it was like, no, thank you. So sometimes we just need to be bold in that. But like I said, you got to be seasoned. It takes time to learn.
Yeah. And I think it all depends on the person who you're talking to as well. Because if it's a family member, it's going to be easier to fall into talking about others. It's your family members and you want to have a conversation with them and you're just sitting around shooting the crap. And then next thing you know, you're talking about everybody and their brother and you're like, whoa, how did I get here? And then if it's a friend, or maybe not a friend, but just an acquaintance, like a lot of people come in and out of Amy's shop, and you have to deal with that a lot. People want to come in and talk about everybody and their brother. And so I can imagine that would be kind of difficult for you. Like, hey, I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
But then you don't want to offend them either at the same time. So it's like, where's that balance?
Yeah, where's that line?
Yeah, you want to talk to them. You want to have things to conversate about. But sometimes it's not good conversation.
Also, too, like people tend to feed off of that. Like,
yeah.
Whenever I grew up, there were women in my family that would ask questions just to get more information and pretend like they didn't even know anything about the topic.
And they probably knew more than you did.
They did. They used to call it fishing for information.
Mm-hmm.
I have lost a lot of friends because of gossip. I just don't want that in my life. And I just have disconnected from them. And I'm happy with that. I have peace with that. And I don't look back.
Nothing good ever comes from gossip, ever.
The scriptures say that gossip is like a tasty truffle.
Mm-hmm.
Ouch.
Yeah.
I know the Lord's dealt with me with that about my ex-husband sometimes, but I think it's truth. I'm not spreading lies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like Ashley, where she was keeping everything bottled up. Sometimes you need to get those things off your chest. And to me, that is like girl talk, or in a sense, we have like our own counseling sessions, you know, like it's good.
Free counseling.
Yeah, that's good. And that's helping build people up. And then, it also brings God into the mix, because then we can talk about scriptures and how do you deal with that. So I think that there's a lot of things involved in deciphering what is gossip and where the line is. I think you really need to know the people you're talking to.
Oh, absolutely.
The motive of your heart and how people are going to respond to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Are they gonna
feed it?
Are they gonna feed into it? Or are they just gonna listen? Are they gonna be that listening ear and that encourager, or to build you up?
Right.
Or are they gonna take it, run with it, and drag the other person's name through the mud?
Yeah.
I would say that whenever you have shared, all of us will nod. We take it in and nod. But I was actually praying for him yesterday, and what the Lord's doing in my heart about blessing and forgiving. That's what I was praying over him. So I like what Em said, like, know your crowd too,
Yeah.
because is it going to be like are you delivering what's on your heart to a pure heart?
Right.
So they can pray from a pure heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, be careful who you share your heart with.
I can see where gossip could come into that with the family member.
Not everything is cut and dry, black and white. Like, there are some things where you really need to just use discernment. You need to use the brains that God gave you. And, sometimes you can feel when things aren't right. You just, you have that inner knowing, like, oh, I probably shouldn't be saying that.
Yeah, well, that's usually after I said it or after I've talked about it. It's like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have did that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I'm growing in that area because I don't like gossip either. Like, I used to be a gossiper.
I think everybody was.
Now.
I mean, at this table, we've all done it. The next question is, how do you navigate expressing feelings, talking through issues, and venting versus complaining and grumbling?
You tell the recipient, listen, don't talk.
I think that was probably one of the best things that we did for each other, was to say, I'm going to tell you something and I don't want you to say anything back. Just listen. Because so many times we feel like we have to add something to the conversation.
Well, I think venting, for me, like if I vent to Ashley, sometimes I really feel like it's healthy for me because sometimes she helps me get an understanding of the situation or solution of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I think it's healthy. Complaining, we just complain all the time, we're stuck in negativity all the time. So that's not healthy for you, period. And if you're complaining all the time, you damage relationships around you because they don't want to hear that all the time.
Right. And I think that venting and complaining have different outcomes. When you're complaining, nothing ever gets solved. You're not looking for a resolution. You're looking for someone to agree with you, sympathize with you, take your side. But then when you're venting, you're just like releasing, you're unpacking your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts, everything. And like you said, somebody else can offer you a different viewpoint or, hey, why don't you try this? And then you're open to that. Whereas complaining, you just take on a whole different mindset when you complain.
I would say that you have to be careful who all you're complaining to, because that's where the Lord was correcting me. I complained to one person, and then I would get asked the same question. So I complain to another person and another person, vent. I would vent to one person. I'd vent to another person, another one, because they'd ask me the question, like, how are you doing? What's going on? And then it turned into complaining in my heart, where if I was venting to Amy, but then Pam asked me the question, so I vented to her, and then Renee asked me the question, I vented to her. Well, at that point, Pam didn't know that I already spoke to Amy, and Renee didn't know that I already spoke to Pam and Amy. However, I knew, like in my heart. So it was beating me up, not beating anybody else up.
Right.
It'll help you gain perspective and venting too sometimes from different situations.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I want to add to Amy's, like, with the complaining, there's certain people in my life that I really have to draw boundaries with, because even being in the atmosphere with that person, there's like this weight, because I know, like, this weighty substance to the atmosphere, because I know that the complaining is waiting.
Right.
And then I already want to, like, put it in reverse. Because I know it's coming. And it's so funny because some people, some relatives, I will even pray before I go into a meeting with them, and I'll feel the Lord's grace on it. But in that moment, it's not like, I'm like sitting there, Lord, like I'm just trusting that the Lord's getting me through that. But the complaining just becomes like weightier and weightier and weightier. I've actually come out of conversations with some people where I feel like sick, like, like sick in my stomach because of that spiritual battle of,
right,
I'm trying to go into this with the Lord's grace, and then you're coming at it from this angle. And it's like,
right.
And a lot of those people that deal with that, it's like it's hard to be the voice of reason in those situations, because they don't want to hear what you have to say.
Right.
They just want to complain, and you have to guard your heart. And sometimes you got to put it in reverse.
Yeah, that's so true.
Like, you can give them a little bit of time, but know that boundary of time.
Yeah. Definitely.
for yourself.
Yes, for sure. Yep. And I would say that sometimes it can be more difficult to do with different people. You know, you have certain people where you can put up those boundaries and they're never crossed. But then you have people where you put up the boundaries and they always cross them. It's like it just doesn't matter what you do, what you say. And then also with having people who are venting or complaining, you have to see how that makes you feel.
That's good.
Because if someone's complaining all the time and you're listening to that, you're going to start taking on whatever feelings they are dealing with. You start to internalize those yourself. And then it brings you down. It weighs you down. It puts you in a bad mood. I mean, I've noticed for me, if I'm constantly hearing complaining, I start complaining about every little thing. I'm like, that didn't even bother me before. So why does it bother me now? And it's because of all the negativity that you're listening to or you're around, and it affects your emotions and your thought process as well.
I went through that. It was getting in me.
Right.
And I could see that's not me. Like, and it was like I was losing me in that because I was starting to complain about every little thing, and where I'm just going with the flow most of the time. So yeah, that, I mean, I always, with that, I picture like two pieces of fruit. When one starts to rot and it's touching the other, what happens?
Rots the other one. Yeah, that's true. And the people around you will notice too, because my husband will call me out and he's like, hey, what is wrong with you today? I'm like, I don't know why. He's like, you're just not yourself, or you're being really mean. And then I'll have to think about like what happened today that was so different, or what made me like this, because nothing, I mean, I basically do the same thing every single day. What happened that upset me, or why am I feeling like this? So I'll have to go back and think about what all I did that day and why I'm feeling the way I am. 9 times out of 10, something that I came across or someone I talked to, and it's like, oh man. And I see that even with my husband in his workplace, if he's working with people who are more upbeat and they talk about Jesus, totally different. He works with some of the crews that are not Christians, and, you know, things will happen throughout the day and he's not happy. And I'm like, oh, who did you work with today? Or what happened? You know, it just, certain things affect your mood and everything about you, your demeanor, everything. It's very important that you guard your heart and put up the boundaries in who you deal with every day.
For me personally, I have to be careful with what I watch on television too, because it's like my eyes are the gateway to my heart. And so like reality TV, I've noticed that there's a lot of complaining on different reality TV shows.
Yeah.
So I've had to turn it off because I noticed myself start to carry that attitude towards life too. Or like you said about getting irritable and stuff, it was like I was allowing myself to experience those things because I had watched that. I mean, because the scriptures, they say as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So like I was allowing myself to be exposed to that, it piercing my heart, and then I was functioning out of that reality, and that's not who I was.
Right. And that's not even real life.
No, I was living out of their reality.
Right. Right. And it's a TV show. Like half of that stuff's not even legit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I remember in high school, I used to watch this show called Laguna Beach.
Yeah.
And there was this girl, and she would always say Steven. And so in high school, if anybody had the name Steven, like I literally wanted to just say it to that person, Steven. And I wasn't even from California.
That's not even who you are. That's not how you talk or anything, but you just want to.
Yeah. Like I wanted to embody that character because I was exposed to it.
Yeah. Okay. So do you think it's okay to discuss relationships and marital topics and struggles with girlfriends? I think this is a difficult one. Because I think it's just like with gossip. There's a very fine line, and it can be so quickly and easily crossed. And then it goes into the complaining versus venting, because talking about your spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever it is, can be a little tricky sometimes.
For me, because I've done this before with Ashley, I was feeling some things I think the Lord was trying to show me. I had come to her and asked her to call me, and I was like, hey, I'm not sure what's going on, but can you give me your opinion? Or because I know she is very in tune with the Lord and where I was not.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, hey, can you ask the Lord to let me know something? So I think something like that maybe, but if you have that relationship, but not just I wouldn't walk up to say, hey, anybody to open that up.
Right.
So with Dan and I, we've gone through hell and back. So for my point of view, it's very different.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that for somebody who has fallen away from the Lord and the Lord has restored the lost time and given the marriage back to you that you had allowed to slip out of your fingers, this is where I'm speaking into.
Mm-hmm.
For me and Dan, it's more of he is my best friend. M is my best friend, but he is my best friend too.
Right.
So the way so I'm Dan's helpmate. Okay. So I don't want to go. And all of you at this table can testify to this, that I do not complain about my husband.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I do not. I do not speak.
Complain about.
I do not speak bad about him. No. Because he's my best friend and I respect him and I love him and he is the head of the household. Is he perfect? No. But it's not my place to go to M and say, Dan did X, Y, Z. No, what I need to do is go to Dan and tell Dan XYZ.
Right.
Same with them. So with her being my best friend, I might get grumpy because we don't go to the beach today, but I'm not going to go to Amy and be like, you know what? She did XYZ, blah, blah, blah. We're not going to the beach today. No, she is already going to know that I'm irritated because of my mannerisms.
Right.
But as my best friend, I'm not going to do that because of the respect. And like I said, that's just because the reason I look at it that way is because of what I've gone through in my life and the Lord has restored the wasted years. So I don't do that. If I have a problem with Dan, then I go to Dan.
Yeah.
But like for my situation, I could not.
You went to a council. You saw it godly counsel.
Right.
Where with me, I'm speaking about it because we went to a counselor and it was terrible. She told us that we needed to not work on things and get a divorce, and that was it was bad. We literally went through hell and back. But like I said, I'm speaking into this from so nobody look at this like it's your life, because it's not. It's my life, and that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Right.
Is I respect and honor him. I'm not going to do that.
Well, and I think that should go for every married couple, because if you have issues with each other, if you don't go to them, it's never going to get resolved. I think it is okay to seek counsel.
I would say definitely seek godly counsel.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, the scriptures speak about that. Seek godly counsel, because if you're not, then someone that is not serving the Lord is going to validate all of your feelings.
Right.
And they're going to see it one-sided. Yeah. And that's dangerous, because where a marriage could be restored, it could be lost because you sought terrible counsel.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's why it's important, like you said, to seek godly counsel, because then it's done in a safe manner. Well, as long as the person that you're going to for the godly counsel, you know that their heart is in the right place and that they are doing it in a professional way.
Yeah, just because they're a Christian doesn't mean that they're like good godly counsel.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to know who you're going to.
Like, my mom always told me, like, you actually know the true person within like a couple of months. You actually will see their true side of them within a couple months of the relationship of who they really are. Because she said they only can play the game for so long.
Oh, yeah, before the true colors come out. Yeah.
So that's always stuck with me.
I say that you will find people's true colors when you go through difficult situations. How they respond and react to difficult things is where you're going to find what they're really all about.
You know, as I sat here listening to you guys talk, and, you know, I guess I do complain about my husband. Not thinking, I don't mean generally complaining about him, but his work. So that creates me complaining about him, I guess. As Ashley was talking, I was like, I really do. And it makes me think, because even though I'm not like at him,
Right.
but I'm telling you, so I'm complaining, and I'm telling you, and I'm complaining. So, you know, I'm like, well, I really do that. I do talk about my husband. And I guess I'm not looking at like how she said it. So it makes me think. And he doesn't deserve that. You know what I mean? He does not deserve that at all.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with noticing that you need things to be different. I think that is something that we both deal with our husbands, because they are very much work mindset. Like that comes first, because they have to provide for their families, and that's just how they grew up. Their life as young boys and teenagers and in their 20s was much different, and it was hard. And so they take on that providing aspect of being a man very seriously. And I think without them even realizing, it can be a little much, and it can go too far. So I think that it's very hard for us as women to deal with that. And sometimes it does come off as complaining, but it's difficult. Like, it just becomes too much for us to deal with, and then we need to talk about it, talk through it, and it does come off as complaining sometimes.
Yeah, and it's not that you're negative about your husband, talking negative, or about your relationship with your husband.
It's a situation.
But it's a situation, so it really is about your husband.
Yeah.
As I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, Lord, I get it.
I think that's a difficult one. That's one where there's a very fine line, and how do you decipher, like, where that line is? It's difficult. But again, I think it matters who you're talking to and, how they're going to respond to it.
Yeah, because I could be sitting here talking to you guys about a situation, and you guys could give me godly counsel, or, give me scriptures and help me biblically, where if I was to go to my family, I would get worldly counsel.
Yeah, you're going to get a whole different response.
Yeah.
I think when you talk to somebody, and if you come out more confused than when you went into that conversation, that probably wasn't a good choice. But when you come out and you feel like, okay, maybe I need to look at things differently, like you just pointed out, if we weren't having this conversation, you would have never noticed that. And so you wouldn't be getting that different outlook on it. Like, oh man, I need to change something. Maybe I do complain too much, or that's something I need to work on. So it definitely it matters who you're talking to. Okay, next question. Do you think it's okay to have unsaved friends?
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Renee?
Boundaries.
Boundaries.
That's good.
I mean, that's 100% solid boundaries, but 100% you should have a mixture.
I mean, if we as Christians don't have friends that are unsaved, how are they ever going to hear about Jesus?
That's true.
Right. I mean, you don't compromise what you believe in.
Yeah.
Right.
At the same time, live out your life in front of them, because your life lived out's a testimony of Jesus Christ. So,
and your life could be the only Bible they ever see or whatever.
And it doesn't mean that you have to participate in the activities that they do. You don't have to live the lifestyle that they do, but you also don't have to completely separate yourself from them. If they invite you over for dinner, probably okay. Now, if they invite you over for a party or a dinner party where everybody's going to be drinking, you may need to say no to that. Invite them to your house so you have control over the situation and what's happening.
yeah, I went camping up up at Raystown Lake, and that's whenever, well, I guess that's not whenever I first came back to the Lord, but I was still pretty young in the Lord. So it was like, whenever you're young in the Lord, you're like, Jesus, everybody's gonna feel Jesus everywhere with me. And so I went camping, and they had this big bonfire at night. Like, they're all drinking and getting wasted, and I'm like, Jesus, I'm gonna bring Dan's gonna bring his guitar. Like, we're gonna go over there, we're gonna worship the Lord around the fire. Everybody's gonna join in. That's gonna be great. That's not what happened. Went over there, and you really think, oh, you're gonna be the light in this situation, like you're gonna just Jesus, and then it's like the booze outweighed all of that. And it's sad to say, because we're the light of the world, but at the same time, you have to judge the atmosphere. You gotta know, you have to know what situation you're walking into, and can you shine for the Lord amongst the wolves?
Yeah.
I mean, the disciples went out amongst the wolves. They were the sheep amongst the wolves, and so you just have to know what situation you're walking into.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they are watching you
Oh.
to see your fruits, to see if you really are that light.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't think they are, but they are.
Yeah, we tried. They sang louder.
I have my cousin, two of my cousins work together. The one cousin I'm closest with, we talk a lot, almost every day. She will my other cousin will say something about God or whatever, and the cousin I talk to, she'll come and be like, is this true? Like, they work at a retirement center thing. And she's like, girl, they have worship in here, and it's cool because she's getting to see Jesus too, and she's asking questions.
Right. So I always tell my kids when they want to go to parties and stuff, and I'm like, what do you think you're going to do at that party? Because if you don't drink, then you're just going to be standing there watching, and you're supposed to be representing Christ. So what are you going to do at that party? Are you going to share Jesus with 30 drunk people? I said, because how do you think that's going to go? You think one sober teenager is going to change the mind of 30 drunk teenagers in or early 20s? Chances are no. They're going to change you probably. And it's happened. And I'm like, well, that didn't work out well, did it? Didn't go as planned. So it's definitely something that you have to think about when you're around people. Like you said, are you going to be the light, or are they going to dim your light?
Are they going to have you stumble?
Yeah.
Are they going to throw that basket to hide your light?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had people like even my sister, like, she's not saved, but she'll be like, if she sees somebody doing something that they perfect, or she thinks they're go to church or whatever, she'll be like, well, I didn't think church people are supposed to do that. So they are watching, like, you know, and she knows, like, when you and Dan started having Bible study on Thursday nights, my sister would call me and be like, hey, I'm going to bingo. You want to go? I'm like, sorry, I'm going to Bible study. You know, and so she knows, like, you know, that Wednesday and Thursdays is my Bible study nights. Like, I'm not going to go anywhere else.
One of my kids, when they were in middle school, all their friends cussed and he didn't. And one of his friends pointed it out one time. He said, hey, how come you don't cuss? And he's like, well, I don't need to. They were like, oh, okay. Something so simple as using curse words stood out to them that he didn't do it and he didn't feel the need to. So I think it's really important that you live out the life that you say that you
Absolutely.
are. I mean, if you say you're a Christian, you need to live like one. Renee, do you have anything to add for like young adults? Do you think it's okay to have unsaved friends?
I say boundaries. Mom can tell you I didn't really hang out with a whole lot of my friends because they were either always partying, doing stuff, and I just was never interested in any of that. And it was mostly me and her that hung out. And I had one best friend, and I didn't handle the situation very good. After that, it was kind of like, do I open up? And after high school, you don't really talk to any of your high schooler friends. You don't really see any of your high schooler friends.
No.
So to me, it would be careful what you do, who you talk to, how you say things, and you don't need a whole lot of friends to be popular. You don't need to have this. You don't need to do that. And if they choose to walk out, then that means you weren't meant to have them. And you can find new friends as you get older because you never know where you're going to be or where you're going to go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all of you sitting at this table, I didn't meet until I was in my 40s. So, you know, like, that just goes to show that you don't always stay friends with the people that you knew from your childhood or high school or even in your 20s. I mean, I talked to a handful of people from my childhood or from high school, but we're not like close friends. It becomes more of an acquaintance, or you see their life on Facebook and, you know, you pray for those people because you see what they're going through and you were close friends at one time. So of course you still care about them and you want them to get saved and find God and, you know, all of the things. So I think it's important to still keep those relationships open, that you can still talk to each other. And sometimes you'll notice that they are watching you more than you're watching them, and they know who they can go to. If something tragic happens in their life and they need somebody to go to pray for them, they're going to be like, oh, so-and-so, I've seen them on Facebook. I know that this is how they're living their life. I'm going to ask them to pray for me. So I think that's important too.
My daughter does that. She she knows there's a big difference. Like when I first gave my life to the Lord and stuff, at first she would be like, "Where'd my mother go?" I said, "She died and she's not coming back," and but now if something's going on or whatever, she'll call me, "Mom, I need you and your people to pray." So it will be me and my people. I'm like, "Well, I can pray for you too. You can pray too,
Yeah.
But I think that's pretty cool that, that they seen that difference in me, knowing, because I was not a very good person.
Do you think that age matters in friendship?
No, I mean, not really. I consider Renee a best friend.
Well, okay, so I can say Ashley and I are 8 years apart. Doesn't feel like it. It does not feel like we're 8 years apart. We're not at the same age, but we still have things that we're going through that are similar. And I think it also comes down to what do you have in common and what can you talk about and what can you do together. I don't think it's really about age because, Amy and I don't even know how many years apart we are.
Probably close to 10.
Yeah. Again, same thing. Sometimes I view you more as a mother figure. But then there's other times where I'm like, she could be my sister. Each and every one of you. It's like the same thing. I look at you differently sometimes where like Renee, I look at her like she could be my daughter. But then there's other times where I'm like, she's like a sister. Like she's like that younger sister where you just want to put her under your wing and take care of her. But then there's other times where you just need to love her because she's like your kid. Mm-hmm. So I don't think age matters.
Well, my friend... she's not saved, but she's also 18 years older than me. We do have some things in common. Mm-hmm. And she has experienced some things that I've never experienced. I've experienced things she's never experienced. But we get along really well. Mm-hmm. And even though I'm saved and she's not saved, she knows where I stand. I know where she stands. And I don't think our age has anything to do with anything because we get along very well.
I used to think that it was a big deal.
Yes.
But then when Ashley and I became friends and I was like kind of weirded out at first, I'm like, well, I'm so much older than her and I don't view myself as old. So it's okay. I think too, if you don't have differences, that relationship is going to be so boring. If you're like exactly the same and you're the same age and you're going through the same things at the same time, what do you have to talk about that's different? It's like your spouse, you're not alike. You have things in common, but if you match to a T, man, that would be boring. Same thing with friendships. Do you think age matters, Renee?
How far apart are we?
I don't know, but I'm old.
Oh no, we clicked on the first day.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, so Renee and Pam, you're 30-some years apart. We won't go exact. You're 30-some years apart, but you two are like best friends.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a difference on the age. I think it's just personalities and your interests. How do you make long-distance friendships work?
Well, I have a friend, Deb. We were friends up here for, I guess, 6 years. And she's moved to Georgia about 7 years ago. We still communicate with each other. When she comes up here, we'll have dinner together. Actually, 2 years ago, Stan and I went down and stayed with her for like 4 days. Mm-hmm. So, it's not the same, but we still communicate and it's worked. But, we were together a lot.
Right.
And we don't do that now, of course, but we still are friends.
Yeah.
And it has worked. So we haven't drifted apart from each other.
That's good. I don't have any friends that are that long distance. Ashley and I are an hour away from each other. So we don't get to see each other every day. I think it takes intentionality, dedication, and you just have to make a point to make sure that they feel part of you. Like you're not just leaving them to the wayside. You just have to be intentional.
Mm-hmm. That was going to be my word too, intentionality and then communication, like Amy said. Because like with you and I, the way that we work is we talk every day. Mm-hmm. And it's like a good morning and then like a voice chat and then gradually chat throughout the day too. Yeah. But that's because we need that kind of love in our lives. So that works for us.
Yeah.
And whenever it's not there, then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I literally remember the one day the other week, like you were busy and then you put your phone on Do Not Disturb. And so I was messaging you and you weren't answering, and I was like, that's it. I'm looking up a podcast so I can hear your voice.
Yes.
So I listened to a podcast while I did dishes just so I could hear her.
I never realized how impersonal texting actually is. Just because you're texting someone throughout the day, it is not the same as hearing their voice, because you can hear the tone of their voice, and when you know someone so well, you know what those tones of voice mean. You just learn them and how they word things. Like, she'll word something a little different, or her answer will be a little shorter. And I'm like, that doesn't sit well. Like, something's going on. It's so funny how you get to know people just by their voice. Intentionality. I think it's important. Okay, Pam, this is your question. You said, is there someone in the Bible you relate to or think you are like? So is there someone in the Bible you relate to?
Just the story, like the woman at the well. I
Mhm.
resonate with that in my story.
Mhm.
That's, who I resonate with, because I was that woman.
I would say that mine is James. I love reading through James over and over again. And just whenever he speaks about drawing near to God and God will draw near to you, that really speaks to me because, like, growing up, I didn't have that father figure.
Yeah.
And so, like, the Lord uses James's words to pierce my heart because as I go to pray and speak to the Father's already waiting there for me, where I didn't have that. And so I would say James.
That's good. I like that. Amy, do you have one?
I really like Peter. I like his boldness
Yeah.
and his willingness. He has all the faith, but he also is like, well, I'm not really sure. And I've been there. Like, well, that's not how I look at things. And then I question my relationship with the Lord. He done that. He denied him.
Right.
So, but I've always liked Peter. I'm like, well, I am boldness at time, and I got compassion like he does.
Yeah.
But I also have that iffy sometimes. So I don't know. I just feel like I could say I'm him a little bit, or see myself in him.
I found this website that you can answer these questions, and then it'll give you who you're most like in the Bible. So I did that, and it was on hopenation.org, and mine was Peter as well. So I think that's pretty funny, and I'm gonna read it to you. It says, like Peter, you are loyal and bold. You protect the ones you love at all costs. Peter grew from being impulsive to a fearless leader of the church. And that's Matthew 16, verse 18. So I thought that was really cool. I was like, yeah, that is so true about me. Like, I will protect my family. Like, they come first and foremost, except for God. He's first. After that is my family. And I will do anything to protect them and keep them safe. And, my thoughts are always them. Okay, Ashley. So do you have somebody that you think Renee is like in the Bible?
How about Ruth? Because she was loyal and faithful, and she's waiting for the right man to come along.
Renee, you're so sweet. All right, so that's all of the questions, and I just want to thank all of you for joining me in this episode, and it was fun, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you loved today's episode, please be sure to like, follow, and share. To stay up to date with future episodes, be sure to follow Table Scraps on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Table Scraps with Emily. You can also listen in on all your favorite podcast listening platforms. If you have any episode suggestions, you can email those to office@tablescrapspod.com. That's office@tablescrapspod.com. Remember that I love you and Jesus loves you more. I hope you have a blessed day.